Well, hello, time travelers. Welcome to today's This Day in History. On this day in 1776, Thomas Paine published Common Sense, a 50-page pamphlet that sold more than 500,000 copies within a few months and called for war of independence that would later become the American Revolution. In 1861, Florida seceded from the Union and in February of 1861 joined the Confederacy. 40 years later, in 1901, the first major oil field in Texas was discovered near Beaumont. 1903 is when Dame Barbara Hepworth was born. Her lyrical forms will make her one of the most influential sculptors of the mid-20th century, and her abstract sculptures will be among the earliest produced in England. In 1920, the League of Nations was established in Geneva. Just 4 years later, in 1924, American jazz drummer and percussionist Max Roach was born. Just 4 years later, in 1939, proposals were formulated by different sections of shipping industry to secure the maintenance of British mercantile marine in the face of severe and increasing rain or foreign competitions, largely state-aided or artificially fostered. In 1944, ICC issues a warning that U.S. transportation facilities needed more equipment and personnel to prevent breakdown. In 1945, the Argentine government announced it would not participate in meetings of the Pan-American Union so long as that body continued to disregard Argentine rights. 1945 also brought us the proposal that the U.S., Russia, Great Britain, France, and China immediately signed a hard and fast treaty to keep Germany and Japan permanently demilitarized by Senator Vandenberg. 1946 brought us two events. The first event is the United Nations General Assembly met in London. And the second event is radar signal bouncing off the moon were detected for the first time. In a ceremony in 1985 that was attended by one foreign head of state, Cuban President Fidel Castro, Daniel Ortega, Saavedra took the oath of office as president of Nicaragua. He had been a member of the ruling junta ever since the overthrow of President Alfonso Somoza Debayle in July of 1979. The presidential inauguration followed by 1 day of the installation of the new National Assembly, which had been elected in November of 1984. The Assembly was firmly under the control of Sinatra's National Liberation Front, which held 61 of the 96 seats. American boxer George Foreman, who became the oldest world heavyweight champion in 1994, was born in Marshall, Texas, in the year of 1949. Moving right along to 1971, when Masterpiece Theater, later called Masterpiece, debuted on PBS for the first time. The first series aired was the first Churchills. Now we are going to move on to 1984, when the United States and the Vatican established diplomatic relations after a 117-year break. This restored full diplomatic relations after an interception of well over a century. President Ronald Reagan acted over strong objections voiced by various Protestant, Jewish, and civil liberties groups. The U.S. Congress in 1983 removed the legal obstacle to formal recognition by repealing an 1867 law that prohibited the establishment of a U.S. diplomatic mission at the Vatican. While the law was in effect, some U.S. presidents maintained unofficial ties with the Vatican through personal representatives who had no diplomatic status. In 1991, there were last-ditch efforts to avoid the Gulf War. In 1999, the first episode of The Sopranos aired on HBO, and the dramatic series, which starred James Gandolfini and Eddie Falco, was later widely hailed as a classic. Moving right along to 2007, when President Omar Hassan al-Bashir of the Sudan and leaders of several rebel groups in Darfur agreed to a 60-day ceasefire in a truce bunkered by the New Mexico governor, Bill Richardson. The following year, in 2008, plans to replace older nuclear plants were approved by the government of the United Kingdom. In 2010, solar physicist Jacob Hirshikins reported that the ribbon of energetic neutral parties found by NASA's Interstellar Boundary Explorer, or IBEX, spacecraft at the edge of the solar system in 2009 may indicate a galactic magnetic field reflecting solar particles back into the solar system. 2016 is when British singer, songwriter, and actor David Bowie, who transformed himself from the traditional pop crooner into a trend-setting international superstar, best known for his metamorphic persona on and off stage, abrupt shifts to musical genres, and status as a fashion icon, passed away in New York City. And with this, we return to 2024 and our current history. Until next time.